What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Week 11 edition already of the NFL Prop Zone. I am Dan Karpuc here for BetQL, using RotoQL and BetQL to make my weekly player prop picks. So far, here on this show, we've gone plus 24.2 units since the start of the season. So we're running hot pretty much every week here. I think only a couple weeks so far. We've gone negative units, so we're going to keep the success rolling. We're going to get to some smash spots early on. I'm using a DFS term there, back from my DFS playing days. Smash spots we're going to go over first. Then we're going to go over some anytime touchdown props that I love this week. We're going to follow that up with some 5-star BetQL model picks from behind the paywall. I'm going to go behind the paywall, under the hood, and reveal some of our model's top plays for the week. Then we're going to climb the ladder. This is a new segment I came up with this week because there's one specific play that I want to ladder all the way up to 100 plus yards. So we're going to get to that as well in the fourth segment, followed by the lock of the week, which I am very, very excited about. I think there's a very mispriced player prop this week, and we are going to get into all of this. But why don't we start out with smash spots? So, as we talk about pretty much every week here, we want to target opposing quarterbacks against the Chargers every week. This week, it's Jordan Love. So, obviously, there's a little bit of hesitation here with Jordan Love. He's been up and down throughout the season. However, he did just throw for 289 yards last week against the Steelers. Having Aaron Jones back definitely helps him and the passing game and opens things up for them. So this is more about really the matchup, though, than the player. Just like we've done week over week, we're going to keep backing quarterbacks against this embarrassing Chargers defense that's allowed an NFL worst 315.7 passing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. That's really bad. For context, the next worst team is the Buccaneers, and they're all the way down at 283.9. So pretty big difference there. Every quarterback has been able to move the ball down the field against this Los Angeles defense. And even though Love and the Packers haven't exactly excelled in that department so far, I expect them to find a lot of success in this particular matchup. So over 226.5 passing yards, minus 114 at FanDuel seems like a lock to me. That's the first thing I circled this week is Jordan Love's name, just because I'm going to go back to it over and over and over again. We did this last week with Jared Goff. We attacked his alternate line as well with Jared Goff last week and cashed in on both of those. I actually am going to go back to the well here. I'm going to do alternate line for Jordan Love as well. Can he have a 300-plus passing game in this one? Well, DraftKings plus 600 if you expect that to happen. He just threw, like I mentioned, for 289 yards last week against the Steelers. So it's not really out of the realm of possibility for him to get over that 300-yard mark. So I absolutely love that. That is the first smash spot of the week. Number 2, Brandon Ayuk. Over 67.5 receiving yards. This is at minus 114 at Bet Rivers against the Buccaneers here. I also like his alternate line at 100-plus receiving yards at plus 240 over at FanDuel. Now, the Buccaneers have allowed 196.7 receiving yards per game to the wide receiver position. That is the second worst in the entire NFL. And Ayuk is clearly Brock Purdy's top target within San Francisco's passing game. Tampa Bay typically sells out against the run. We kind of know what to expect here with Todd Bowles at the helm and all of the Todd Bowles defense over the years. They're going to stop the run, and they're going to let up yards in the passing game. That's no exception here. This year, it's not as stark as it was in previous years. However, this is still a chance to attack this passing game. So Ayuk's one of my favorite targets of the week here. He has a 100-plus yard upside as he showed multiple times this season. He has a 109-yard game, 129-yard game, 148-yard game. And if Christian McCaffrey is slowed down a little bit by this Buccaneers defense, someone like Ayuk is going to have to step up in the passing game. So I love him to get over this 67.5 receiving yard mark here. And I think there's a ton of value in backing that this week. So let's go into some anytime touchdown plays that I love. And we're going to start out with a little bit of a contrarian one here, which is kind of crazy to think about. But Tony Pollard, anytime touchdown versus the Panthers, minus 105 at BetMGM. Now, Tony Pollard enters this week as just one of 2 running backs in the NFL with 9 or more carries inside the 5-yard line with just 2 rushing touchdowns this season. He hasn't scored a rushing touchdown since week 1. He hasn't scored any touchdowns since week 1. There are rumblings that Rico Dowdle will start over him. There are claims that he lost all of his vision and burst. I don't care about any of that. I think they're going to really make an effort to get him involved and find the end zone this week. We actually had a clear hint given by CeeDee Lamb when he told reporters today that we're going to get TP the ball. We're going to get him going this week. So that should be pretty interesting to see if that actually comes true or not. But this is an amazing spot for him, and we're going to get him at a very discounted price. The Panthers have allowed an NFL worst 1.3 rushing touchdowns per game to opposing running backs, 1.6 overall if you want to include receiving touchdowns by running backs as well in that. And Dallas is a huge favorite in this game. So we can expect the running game to really come into play here, especially if they get out to an early lead. Say Dak Prescott throws a couple touchdowns early in the game. They're going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to eat up clock. And Tony Pollard should be someone who thrives and benefits from that situation. Pollard got 2 carries within the 5 last week against the Giants, failed to get in the end zone both of those times. But it's really only a matter of time before he delivers one of those vintage performances for this high-powered Cowboys offense. I think it's going to be this week. And at minus 105 at BetMGM, you're not going to get a better price on this. If he turns it around this week, this might be the best price you could get on him for the rest of his career. Okay, maybe that's a little bit far-fetched, but you know what I mean. Definitely this season, minus 105 for a Tony Pollard touchdown within this offense. I absolutely love it this week. Speaking of someone I love, David Montgomery, anytime touchdown versus the Bears, minus 130 at Caesars is the best price you can find here. He took 12 carries for 116 yards and a touchdown last week after returning from injury against the Chargers. He has 7 touchdowns and 6 starts this season, and the only time he didn't score was against the Buccaneers when he got injured mid-game. So I don't care if Jahmyr Gibbs eats into his workload. He should be playing from ahead with a positive game script, just like Pollard. So I love attacking these running backs in this situation. As opposed to wide receivers or tight ends or anyone else or even quarterbacks, we know that the ball is going to be in these running backs' hands. And that's something that I definitely am going to be on this week. And I love when you can project to that volume, it's super, super important. That's something I look at every week. And speaking of volume, Devin Singletary, anytime touchdown versus the Cardinals, minus 110 at BetMGM. There's no Dameon Pierce again. And if you look back to what Devin Singletary did last week, 30 carries for 150 yards versus the Bengals last week. If he sees 20 plus carries, I like this play against the Cardinals this week. So, you know, we see the upside here, 30 carries. I don't think he's going to go over 150 yards or even sniff it again, just based on some of his earlier performances this season. But 30 carries last week, you got to like this price at minus 110 at BetMGM. You know, all he has to do is fall in the end zone once, and you have to think that he is going to get the lion's share of opportunities at running back once again for the Texans this week. So I love the play, minus 110, love the price as well. Speaking of a great price, Austin Eckler, anytime touchdown versus the Packers. Now, I talked about Jordan Love. In DFS, I'm going to probably play a lot of Jordan Love. I'm going to play a lot of someone else I'm going to talk about when we get to the climbing the ladder section as well. Hint, hint. but I do love running it back with Austin Eckler. I think there's some also a positive correlation when it comes to including Austin Eckler in any same game parlays with Jordan Love, with someone I'm going to mention in the climbing the ladder section, and Eckler as well. Those three players combined, or even just Love and Eckler together as well. Or just you could go in Caesars at -118 and get an Eckler touchdown by itself. I would recommend doing that as well. Eckler scored in 3 consecutive starts, 4 touchdowns in 3 games during that span. He's one of these guys that has upside as a runner and a receiver every week. We've seen this guy score 2 touchdowns in a game multiple times. We've seen him score 3 touchdowns in a game before. He has a knack of finding the end zone. And at -118, there's a ton of value there. I saw this all the way at -140 elsewhere. So right now, if you're listening to this, definitely hop on that and take advantage. But I think the play of the week here in the anytime touchdown market has to be Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown versus the Steelers, +275 at Bet Rivers. Now, I even like this for him to score 2 touchdowns at +2,500 at Bet Rivers as well. But let me just get into the regular anytime touchdown, the one anytime touchdown play. Now, he scored a touchdown in each of the last 5 weeks. So this has happened 5 times in a row, 6 total in that span. Yes, Jerome Ford sees a substantial workload, but Hunt is the guy that's trusted in the red zone. He's trusted when the team needs to pick up some key yards, and he clearly has the trust of the coaching staff, which is very, very obvious if you watch the Browns play over that handful of weeks. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is starting at quarterback, the rookie. So this could be a more run-heavy game plan than usual here against the Steelers, who have had run defense issues. So for Hunt this week to score a touchdown, +275 is a massive, massive, massive discount. And like I said, 2+ touchdowns, +2,500. That's a very, very high upside, reasonable bet that you can make this week as well. So with all that being said, now let's get into some BetQL model picks. So these are not specific plays that I'm going to recommend, but I'm going to reveal some 5-star plays from the BetQL model. You can get access to these from behind the paywall. All you need to do, by the way, to get access to BetQL at 20% off is enter code PROPZONE, all one word, at checkout, and you can get 20% off any subscription as long as it's an annual subscription. So we have discounts already built into these, so you can get 20% on top of that right now. Again, enter code PROPZONE and take advantage. This is the only place you will hear about that specific promo code. All right, so without further ado, let's get into those 5-star model plays. First off, Justin Fields over 1.5 passing touchdowns versus the Lions, +195 at DraftKings. We are projecting 2 passing touchdowns, therefore getting over that mark. And because it's +195, we're projecting that to happen. So there's a lot of value there. You have to think with this Lions offense, obviously I like David Montgomery, as I already talked about, but this is a very high-powered Lions offense. You have to think Justin Fields is going to have to throw the ball down the field. They're going to have to use him as a passer, especially if they get down early or if they're down throughout the game, presumably. He's going to be passing the ball quite a bit here. Yes, it's his first game back from injury, but I don't expect anything to limit him here in this one. Darnell Mooney over 2.5 receptions versus the Lions. This is +130. So again, plus money here at FanDuel. If you want to parlay those two together, I think that's the way I would go, just because Darnell Mooney is projected for 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown in the model this week. So a pretty big difference there. I exactly double the amount of receptions as his prop has listed here. So 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. So if you want to pair those two, that makes a ton of sense. If you want to play them separately, that makes sense as well. Marquise Brown over 5.5 receptions versus the Texans. So I already talked about how I like Mr. Devin Singletary. Now, if you want to go to the other side in that game, you can go to Marquise Brown. And over 5.5 receptions makes a lot of sense because guess who's back under center? Mr. Kyler Murray. So you have to think the passing game is going to improve pretty dramatically here with Kyler Murray under center. The BetQL model is projecting 8 catches for 75 yards for Marquise in this matchup, plus 116 at FanDuel. So again, another plus money play with a lot of upside according to our model. Next up is Tony Pollard over 16.5 rush attempts versus the Panthers, plus 114 at DraftKings. The model's projecting him to take 22 rushes for 60 yards and a touchdown. So 60 yards, 22 rushes. That's not exactly efficient. However, I see that touchdown and I smile because I just talked about that anytime touchdown prop. But over 16.5 rush attempts, we project 22. So, like I said, if the Cowboys get out early, maybe they want to feature Pollard here, give him all the reps he can get, have one of those gigantic games like we saw in the past from him, show off his explosiveness, and show the rest of the league that Tony Pollard is still Tony Pollard, and kind of just offset that narrative that has been, pretty much, all over the place over the last, a handful of weeks here as he has struggled to find the end zone. And finally, Tua Tagovailoa, over 22.5 pass completions versus the Raiders. Did I say over? I meant under. Under 22.5 pass completions at plus 105 over at DraftKings. We're projecting 17 completions for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. The same kind of deal here, excuse me, goes with Tagovailoa as it goes with Dak Prescott in that Cowboys offense. The Dolphins are gigantic favorites here against the Raiders. Obviously, not only that, but Tua doesn't have to complete too many. All he has to do is find Tyreek Hill on a slant. Tyreek Hill can take it 90 yards to the house. So he's not someone who's going to have to complete a high volume of passes if he does have to pass the ball much at all, which I don't expect to happen. Now all of the Dolphins running backs are healthy again. I think this is going to be a very lopsided score, and I think the Dolphins are going to control the time of possession a lot. I don't think Tua is going to have to do too much through the air, so I tend to agree with the model on this one as well. And you could get that at plus 105 at DraftKings. So 5 plays, 5 5-star bets, 5 plus money plays. What's better than that, guys? I hooked all of you up, and hopefully we get some winners in there if you tail. Speaking of tailing, you might want to do that here, or you might want to laugh at me, but I am going to climb the ladder with Christian Watson. Yes, Christian Watson, and let me explain why. So we're going to do this on FanDuel. I got some pretty good prices here. I listed them out for you guys. But 40 plus yards at minus 102, 50 plus yards at plus 154, 60 plus at plus 225, 70 plus at plus 350, 80 plus at plus 490, 90 plus at plus 640, and 100 plus at plus 880. So obviously, like I talked about Jordan Love, we're going to attack this Chargers pass defense. We do have to mention that Christian Watson has struggled this season to pop off. So the only time in 6 starts that Watson has even gotten over 37 yards was against the Raiders earlier in the season when he had 91. This is the best possible matchup, though, that he can have in this Green Bay offense, pass offense can have against this Chargers defense. Like I mentioned, they're giving up 315 passing yards a game. So someone, if Jordan Love is going to exceed his expectations at the 226.5, which I think he will, I also am going to bet him to have 300 plus alternate passing yards as well. So I think he's going to greatly exceed that, just like people in the past have absolutely picked this defense apart through the air. And you have to think, who is the guy who is most likely to benefit from that ceiling game from Jordan Love? And I think that person is going to be Christian Watson this week. The Chargers, like I mentioned, have allowed 196.1 yards per game to opposing wide receivers. Watson so far, 16.3% target share, not great. That's not what we want to see. However, 34.3% of Packers' air yards have gone to him so far. So we're looking for that deep threat against a Chargers pass D that has been very susceptible to big plays downfield. And all we need for a few of these to hit here is one of those long touchdown passes that we've seen Watson have. And, once he puts those burners on the outside and gets a step on the defender, that's all he needs. So I think that there's a lot of upside here. 40 plus yards is at minus 102. So even if you don't want to tail the whole ladder, maybe you want to go only a couple steps here at 50 plus and 60 plus, you could get 60 plus at plus 225. That's a ton of value, in my opinion, against the worst pass defense in the entire NFL. So I think there's a ton of value there. And I love Christian Watson this week. And I can't wait to play him in DFS because I don't think he's going to be heavily owned, especially for people who check those box scores. So pretty solid, I think, contrarian option there. Pair him on DFS with Love and with Eckler, and I think you have a pretty solid start to your lineup with some pretty discounted savings, I think, across the board as well to start your lineup off with. So now let's get to the lock of the week. And I am so excited for this one. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, over 21.5 rushing yards versus the Steelers, minus 110 at BetMGM. Now, this is his second career start. A lot of people don't remember that he actually started a game against the Ravens earlier this season. The offense only generated 3 points. It was very ugly. The Ravens have a tendency to really beat up on teams, and they absolutely did that earlier this season. But in that game, he had 4 carries for 24 yards. So we're 1-0 so far, over 21.5 rushing yards in his young career here. Lamar Jackson took 6 rushes for 45 yards against the Steelers team. But like I mentioned, the Steelers' run defense has been bad. And Thompson-Robinson is certainly someone, as he showed in the preseason multiple times this year, where he has that rushing upside. He showed it all throughout college as well, where he can rack up these big yardage outings. And I love when you can envision a player getting over their yardage mark with one play. Can he rush and can he escape the pocket and run downfield for 22 yards in one play? Absolutely he can. So I love this play. This is my top play of the week. I called it the lock of the week for a reason. I think Kareem Hunt, like I mentioned, at plus 275 is probably the best bet you can possibly make this week. But I do not see a way, if Dorian Thompson-Robinson plays all 4 quarters, that he does not get over 21.5 rushing yards against the Steelers defense, especially if he's pressured in the pocket. He's forced to run upfield, or rush to escape the pocket, I should say. If J.J. Watt is getting in and his grill, he has the athleticism to get out of that bad situation and make some positive yards out of nothing. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson, by far my favorite lock, or my lock of the week. I would say that my favorite touchdown pick of the week is definitely Kareem Hunt, and I'm going to get on that Kareem Hunt 2+ touchdown mark at plus 2,500 over at BetRivers as well this week. So with all that being said, we did it in 24 minutes. About 25 minutes here. We've gone plus 24.2 units so far this season. Like I mentioned in the middle of the show, all you need to do is go to betql.com or open up the free BetQL app right now. Enter code PropZone, get 20% off any BetQL annual subscription. So you can do this for 1 sport, 2 sport, 3 sports, or all sports. I would recommend the all sports. This is a perfect time to do it. You have a ton of sports playing at once. You got our NBA stuff, our college hoops, college football, NFL, there's even tennis in there for some tennis fans. So all the soccer leagues that are going on. There's just so much going on right now, and this is the perfect time. You could do it for less than $1 a day. Enter the promo code. I think it equals something like 55 cents a day, something like that. I think the value speaks for itself, and hopefully we can guide you to more and more wins and help you become a better. That's what we're all about over at BetQL. And I need to mention also that BetQL value section in the middle here, where I revealed the five-star plays of that I picked from the model this week. You can get access to all of our model's projections. So that not only includes the 5-star bets, but that includes statistical projections for every single player on every single team in every single game every week for NFL and NBA, and the corresponding star ratings to go along with those. So if we have a huge discrepancy there between our model and the sportsbook line, that's a 5-star bet. If we don't have much of a difference, it's a 1-star bet. So we show you where the value is. All you need to do is subscribe, and we will basically instantly show you where all of the value is, not only with player props, but with all sorts of bet types. So I really encourage you, check it out. Head to betql.com, enter code PropZone now, and let's get some more winners in this week. Let me know. Tweet at me, follow me on Twitter at Daniel Karpuc, or I should say at X now, right? At Daniel Karpuc. Let me know what I got wrong. Let me know what you're tailing, and let's have another great week. I'll be right back here next Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern for the Week 12 edition. Good luck this week, everybody.